Candidates Forum. I'm Priscilla Tam, Communications Director, City Clerk, and Elections Official for Foster City. On Tuesday, November 6th, Foster City voters will decide who will fill 2 four-year terms on the City Council. There are 6 candidates who you will hear from shortly. Tomorrow, September 25th, is National Voter Registration Day, and I'd like to remind everyone that the last day to register to vote for the November 6th election is October 22nd. If you've moved, changed your name, or wish to change your party affiliation, please register online at registertovote.ca.gov or pick up a registration form here in the council chambers, City Hall, the library, or the Recreation Center. San Mateo County conducts elections under the Voters' Choice Act, which means that every registered voter will receive a vote-by-mail ballot. You may mail in your completed ballot, submit at a ballot drop box location, or vote in person at any vote center in San Mateo County. Foster City's Vote Center will be at the Recreation Center and will be open Saturday, November 3rd through Election Day. Please exercise your right to vote. Tonight's Candidates Forum, moderated by Kathy Wheeler of the League of Women Voters, will be rebroadcast on FCTV Channel 27 and available on demand on the city's website. And now I'll turn the forum over to Kathy Wheeler.
I'll turn on my mic so that you can hear me. First, I'll do the obvious first announcement, which is if you have your cell phones on, please turn them off or put them on silent. The second thing that I want to announce as a general announcement is we don't allow any campaign literature for any of the candidates. Also, no political endorsements on any clothing. I don't see anybody who's guilty of that tonight, so you all look pretty good. In fact, I'm impressed by the amount of people here. Thank you all for coming out tonight. As Priscilla said, I am Kathy Wheeler with the League of Women Voters of North and Central San Mateo County. I want to thank the Foster City City Council, as well as Priscilla and Yelena, her deputy, for hosting us tonight. I am from Half Moon Bay, so I am not a citizen of Foster City. I don't know any of the candidates. The first time I met them was a few moments ago. So I'm not partisan to any of the candidates. Also, I'll be mostly reading from a script that the League of Women Voters use for this type of event, mostly because the intention is for us to be consistent when we do these types of forums. And just to make sure that everybody understands what the League of Women Voters is all about, it's a nonpartisan political organization of both men and women. The purpose is to promote active and informed participation in government, and we appreciate the interest and efforts of the groups such as the Foster City City Council in presenting events like this that increase voters' awareness. So kudos to the council for holding the forum tonight. The purpose of the Candidates Forum is to provide an opportunity for all the candidates to be heard, one at a time, and to be questioned by you, the audience. We hope that by bringing the candidates and voters together face-to-face, voters will be better informed and will make wise decisions on Election Day. We appreciate your interest in coming out to learn more about the candidates, and please start thinking about your questions. I already got a fair number of them, but as you listen, don't be shy about writing down your questions. Tonight, you'll hear from the candidates for City Council. There are 6 candidates for 2 seats, and the term of office is 4 years. In the interest of time and fairness to the candidates, please hold your applause to the very end. Then we can have sufficient time for questions tonight. We will be going to 8:30, and hopefully we'll get about an hour and a half worth of questions in. Again, this event provides a nonpartisan setting to let voters hear all the candidates. It's not for the supporters or opponents of any particular candidate in the audience to demonstrate their own personal preferences. So please keep any expression of disdain or delight to yourselves. So the candidates in alphabetical order are, and if I don't get the pronunciation right, I apologize in advance. Richa Swathi. This one's easy. Mark Farron. Sanjay Gahani. Sanjay. Thank you. Deborah Martinez, Patrick Sullivan, and Paul Williams. So I'll go over the ground rules for the forum tonight. Opening statements will be limited to 3 minutes each. And prior to us starting, they each drew lots, and they'll go in the order of the lots that they chose. Then we'll have a question period. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer. And then all candidates will have equal time, okay, to answer the question, even if it's addressed only to one candidate. So you can address to one candidate, but all the candidates will be able to answer the question as well. Closing statements, each candidate will get 2 minutes for a closing statement. So I have 3 helpers here tonight, okay, from the League of Women Voters. First is our timekeeper, who is Mary Nobriga. Oh, we got a little applause for her. The timekeeper will hold up warning signs when the candidate has 1 minute, then 30 seconds left of the allotted time. At the end of that time, the timekeeper will hold up the stop sign until the candidate quits speaking. By the way, I reserve the right to stop you in the middle of a paragraph, okay? So try to finish the sentence, okay? I'll give you to the end of the sentence. And then we have 2 ushers, Susie Ray, and over here, and Shirley Robertson. And they are your conduit for your questions. So they have index cards and pencils. If you have a question, raise your hand, and the usher will give you the index card. And then when you're done writing your question, raise your hand again. That way we can keep the questions going, even though our candidates are talking. And then I'm parsing the questions for you. The questions come to me, I'm sorting them out. I'm going to combine some that are similar because we're starting to get a lot of questions. And I'll do my best to make sure that we get all the questions in. Okay, so we will, more questions. So we will move on to opening statements. And I'll get my sheet out here. And the candidates have 3 minutes per opening statement. And our first speaker will be Mark Farron. Go ahead. Ready to go.
Testing. Uh-oh. Hi, I'm Mark Farron. I will have signs up this week. I am running. I am very serious. A little bit about myself. I'm a Bay Area native since 1970. I grew up and went to school in Saratoga, attended University of San Diego, and graduated with a bachelor's in business. We left, the best thing about USD was that's where I met my beautiful wife, Jeannie. We left San Diego, moved back to Northern California, where we've had 2 kids, Connor, a professional tennis player, and Courtney, a singer and a songwriter. I'm a stay-at-home dad, and after being 10 years the tennis director and manager of Sleepy Hollow Tennis Club in Orinda. We lived all over the Bay Area, from Saratoga, Los Gatos, to Pleasanton, San Ramon, San Bruno, Hillsboro, Redwood City, Redwood Shores, been all over. We even lived in Sand Cove in the early 90s for 2 years. My son's tennis has allowed me to travel all over the world, and he played all the Grand Slam junior events, and we visited all the continents except for Antarctica. 7 years ago, we were fortunate enough to be able to go house hunting and get out of the Franklin Street apartments in Redwood City, which the kids to this day still says it was their favorite time. While flicking through ads, I saw a picture of a house on the water, went to the open house, and didn't leave until we had a deal. Since then, we've done a major remodel, and some of you may have waved to us as you've gone by on the water because we're the ones with a crazy infinity edge pool. We've had a difficult time with the city during the building. The employees were great and friendly, but the rules seem to be tying their hands. They propose problems with the plans and not solutions. I'm not a builder, but the process was a bit messy. This leads me to my platform, which is common sense. I'm a competitor. I will fight for what I think is right, but if I lose, I'll shake your hand and will congratulate you and immediately try to help you improve and execute your idea. I don't hold grudges, nor do I have any hidden agendas. I take each issue individually and each person individually. I like to hear both sides and make a common sense judgment. I want to beautify this unpolished gem of a city and lead it into its future. I want to bring in the Bay's technology to solve our problems and get us answers to ones that we may not even know we need yet, and lead the Bay and not follow. I am very pro-high school, as nothing brings a community together on a regular basis than school, or is more important than education. I'm actually very pro-marina. I know it's maybe a dead issue, but it seems silly to be beyond the most beautiful bay in the world that I've seen and not have access to it. I'm pro-business, retail, restaurants.
I'm not going to have you start another sentence.
Wow, it was only 3:27 when I did it. I thought I cut enough out.
Okay, so our next speaker is Richa.
I thought I was third. You gave me third.
That's right, there was no two. There's 8 tokens in the bag, so.
Sorry. Good evening. My name is Richa. I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this event tonight, and I'm very honored to be here. We are at a crossroads in time where we need leaders who can stand up for what is right. We live in a very beautiful and peaceful city, but we are facing some challenges that we need strong and poised leaders who can work with us to make a better tomorrow. 18 years ago, I came to the US to be a part of a better future. I worked through entry-level jobs in leading financial services organizations, gaining valuable experience and skills, and I now serve as Vice President of Wells Fargo Digital Platforms. As I reflect on what brought me here today, I realized that I was preparing for public service my entire life. My amazing parents imparted me the values of compassion, integrity, honesty, and empathy. My continual drive to find solutions to the problems that we all see led me to seek opportunities to serve in our community. For example, I served as chair for Site Council at Brewer Island, where I identified a need for a computer lab. I created the lab and the curriculum, working with the Site Council members. I then was selected by the City Council to serve in Innovation Technology Advisory Committee, where I educated seniors on how to protect themselves and stay safe online. And as I looked at the challenges facing our city, I felt that I would be truly impactful as a member of City Council. And as I met with family and friends, I realized that I was on the right track. We live in a beautiful city, but we do have significant challenges. My inspiration to run got reinforced by parents with young children similar to mine who saw my passion, and from seniors who understood my drive and passion to protect their community. My priorities include preserving and maintaining the quality of life, repairing our infrastructure, balancing our budget, and partnering to enhance and maintain and create dynamic schools. I look forward to sharing my vision for our future, but more importantly, to share what action plan is needed to bring that to fruition. Thank you.
Good timing. We now go to Deborah Martinez.
Can you all hear me? Can you now? maybe this is the problem. Okay, so let me scoot over here. So I'm Deborah Martinez, and I've lived in Foster City for over 20 years. I'm currently working as a treasurer for our homeowners association. I'm from Ohio, and I came here about 25 years ago. I have a bachelor's degree in business and finance, and I've worked about 40 years in the financial services industry. So I decided to become a candidate because I was listening to my family and friends, and they were telling me that they were disappointed in the traffic and they were disappointed in the overdevelopment. And so I said, well, let me think about this. You know, maybe I can help. So I thought about it, talked to my family, and I decided to apply. And here I am. I'm going to be a part of the solution. I'm not the problem. So that's all I have to say.
Short and sweet, thank you. Patrick Sullivan is next.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters for putting on this event. My name is Patrick Sullivan. I'm a native San Franciscan. I've lived in Foster City for almost 30 years. They called me the sixth council person because I haven't been elected yet. I've been participating for the last 3 years. I was there 80% of the time at the meetings. And also there at the Planning Commission meetings. My interest in Foster City is to work with the challenges that we have before us. We have the challenges of the levy, which has been settled so far because the bond has been passed. We have many challenges that we need to maintain, whether it's the structural deficit. I'm also educated. I got a master's degree from Notre Dame University in teaching and in business. I also am co-host of Podcast by the Bay. To many of you people out there, there's probably 4,700 listeners. To you candidates that went ahead and interviewed with Podcasts of the Bay, I congratulate you. Again, I removed myself from Podcast by the Bay. I want to maintain the quality of life here in Foster City. We have a council that we need to work through with, and that we need to get motions and decisions made in a more mannerly way or a civil way. Also with Podcast by the Bay, I interviewed 26 mayors on the peninsula, or 16, I apologize. 16, they all were very interested in making sure that we worked with the environmental impact reports, that we're all approving all these properties up with all the developments. So it is important that we look forward and challenge those environmental impact reports, because as we take a look around us, we have a lot more of housing that's being built and a lot more police service and fire service that's going to be necessary. This is Patrick Sullivan. I look forward to your vote.
Thank you, Patrick. And finally, Paul Williams.
Good evening. Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, right. I'm not going to forget you, I promise. I don't think you're going to let me forget you.
Picture up here. I heard you take mine.
So you're last.
Okay.
Sanjay.
All right. Thank you, Moderator Kathy.
You're welcome.
Thank you, devoted city staff, for being here. Thank you, current council members, for sharing the dais with us tonight and for the tough decisions that you've made to keep this great city great. And I thank you to my community who's here tonight. My name is Sanjay Gahani, and I'm running because I believe that we need a shift. We need to move the needle towards civility, and we need to move the needle towards unity, because we're facing some very serious challenges that if we are able to work together and really harness the power of our community, we can not only solve, but we can excel through. Some of those challenges that I've dealt with most recently are housing. And with housing, I think we need to really understand the impacts on all of our resources of everything that's been developed and everything that's been approved before we consider any more. With regards to traffic, this is really an external challenge, just like housing. If you haven't heard of One Bay Area or Planned Bay Area, look it up. We need to come together and be unified if we're going to be able to provide the right level of housing for us, and if we're able to and we're going to be able to maintain our quality of life. Our relationship with our school district is another topic. It's strained, and it can be improved. Our budget is another one. And specifically, we need to look at some projects that are coming up because we have a structural deficit that we're looking at over the next few years that we need to manage. We need to take a look at our unfunded pension liabilities and how we're going to handle that, the Levy project, the water wastewater plant, revitalizing our parks, as well as the rec center. And then I've got a pet project on retail that I want to piggyback off Sam. Let me tell you a little bit more about myself. I was raised here. You are my community. I'm a product of Foster City. I went to UC Davis, got an electrical engineering degree, and I got an MBA from Santa Clara University. I've worked in Daly City in the Public Works Department, Parks and Rec, Water and Wastewater. I've managed a $500 million portfolio of business in Europe and in Asia. And most recently, I'm a small business owner. I'm a managing partner in Building Kids Worldwide, which is a franchisor of preschools, in which we dedicate 25% of our profits to helping underprivileged children around the world. I'm also an AYSO coach for my son. I'm also his coach for Little League, and I'm also on the board. I believe in our community, and I want to contribute to it. Thank you.
Paul.
Thank you. Indeed, thanks to the League of Women Voters for putting this event on. And it's a great forum for everybody to listen to the candidates and see the differences and the nuances and the differences and the nuances. Is it on? Okay, good. Maybe I need to get them a little bit closer. But thank you very much, and I appreciate it. To give you a little history about myself and my family. I'm a third-year resident. My wife and I have been blessed to go ahead and raise our family here. And for the past 8 years, I've been a planning commissioner working here at the on this particular diocese. I've also gotten very familiar with all of the general plans, the land use and circulation elements, the policies, also the policies that govern our city. And with those items, I must admit, they didn't come overnight. They came with the dedication of city council members and planning commissioners and our prior forefathers for our city. They did it by taking time to study the issues, to learn the facts, to listen to our residents and to others, and to finally put away the differences and make the right choice for Foster City. As a planning commissioner, those are the steps that I've taken. And as a potential city council member, that's the direction that I will take. For 20 years, I've been a Rotarian, volunteer worker, and a community volunteer for our city. I've participated in a variety of different events, from Concert in the Parks to City Fest, Art and Wine Festivals, Holy Fest, the celebration that we have at the 4th of July, which is a phenomenal event where tens of thousands of people come into our city. And what you learn by doing that is you see the fabric of our city, and our fabric of our city is made up of volunteers. Why am I passionate about giving back? It's because giving back is the fabric of our community. Why vote for me? I love our little little paradise on the peninsula. And you have my word that I will listen to you and I will put Foster City first. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates, for your opening statements. We'll get into questions now. We have a fair number of questions. I've randomized the order of the candidates answering the questions, so let's go ahead and dive in. I'll put a hard stop so that they have enough time for their closing statements at 10 minutes after 8. Okay, so first question, and it will go to Richa. Let me find it. So this one there's 3 questions actually, but they're all basically the same topic. So I'll go with the top one here. No other issue resonates with Foster City residents like traffic. San Mateo today starts their development plan for 2040. How do you look out for our interests in that process? And I will add to that question so that we can answer basically both in the same time. Ideas about alleviating traffic issues here in Foster City specifically.
All right. So we all agree, traffic is terrible and it's getting worse. With increased jobs and prosperity, traffic is almost a byproduct. The majority of traffic is caused by east-west commute, people who are living in less expensive areas in the East Bay and are commuting for work. Some of the initial considerations, I think, must be mass transit, the last mile commute, getting people where they are back to Caltrans so they can get back home, HOV lanes and managed lanes. HOV lanes is the most cost-effective way to get smaller groups of people to and from where they work, and smaller programs like Scoop or Uber. And an important point, I think, is to work with corporations and businesses and work with them for them to do their part to pitch in more dollars to find solutions for traffic.
Thank you. Mark, you're next.
Thank you. Traffic is difficult in the area. The things that I would propose to do would try to do maybe a reverse commute lane with buses, Ubers, Lyfts, carpool, electric cars, being able to go down Hillsdale. Try to talk to the companies to see if they can do anything with their business timing so that they can have split shifts, different times to go into work, so we can alleviate some of the, especially the local businesses, Gilead, and the bigger ones that are bringing in the most traffic. Really, like I said before, I'm in favor of a marina, so I'd be also in favor of a ferry service coming over that maybe Gilead could be part of, since they're probably bringing most of the people over, and to stop people cutting through on Hillsdale Avenue to do it. It's not a shortcut anyway, so it seems silly that they're even trying, but that's just would be number one thing I would at least start with. There we go.
Sanjay?
I'm supportive of any transportation methods or any solutions to reduce traffic. I think I look at it in 3 buckets. There's a short-term fix, there are long-term proposals, and then there are out-of-the-box proposals. And the short-term fix, I think you hear great things from the community. Redoing some of the lanes to expand them all the way to not having left turns at certain times from certain streets, and even having it was a great idea from actually Amit Saini when he was kind of looking through this, where it was to get through Fashion Island in a more efficient way from 101 South to 92. On the longer term, I think we need to work with agencies like CalSTA, which is a California State Transportation Agency that contains 8 entities, including Caltrans, as well as MTC, which is the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, on an east-west solution, working with them.
Deborah?
Okay, so traffic, that's all I heard about the whole times that I started visiting homeowners. And we have had this problem for God knows how many years, so it's a broken record. Traffic. So what we need to do is work with local entities, like I'm thinking Metropolitan Transit, Sandtram, someone who's closer to home that knows more about what we're doing. So I want them to look at traffic patterns, and I think we've done that, but the last report I saw was 2014. So I believe that with the new information, we probably could make a decision, and we would be able to ask for help from the community as well. So that's my thoughts.
Okay, I had the grand opportunity to interview Sam Hindy, the mayor, and Rick Bonilla, the mayor of San Mateo. One of the things with knocking on doors, we don't have a commuter lane to get these young people to the Caltrain. I would think we might try, as a suggested idea, of trying to get them out to Caltrains. The most important thing we have to realize, we do not have a transit district. All of the Samtram, the BART, Caltrain are all fighting for the same tax dollar. I talked to Seamus Murphy, who's the director of the communications, and he says right now the problem is Samtrams is really only for the elderly or for the poor. We need a transit district more than just a diligent card. We need the transportation to be connected together so we can all get around easier and get out of those single driver cars.
Traffic clearly is a regional issue that we're suffering with. It's the unfortunate part about living in a great little part of, I'm gonna say, California. Is it a necessary evil? Boy, as fast as businesses are coming into the 101 corridor between San Jose and San Francisco, it sure seems like it is. They seem to come in here, they go ahead and they develop these projects, and then all of a sudden, the employees, when they come in, we're paying the price for it. There's got to be a better way to cooperate with these businesses and have them help us with our traffic problem. Either increase some of the bus services, establish more reliable bus services between here and Caltrans. There's got to be a better way of doing this. But clearly the businesses are driving this for us. I think we're going to have to be better partners with them on how we solve our traffic problems.
Okay, second question. And this one kind of has two parts. What do you expect to do to make the levee project on time and on budget? And secondly, how do you plan to, what would be your plans to help implement it so it maintains the beauty of the city and the bay? And we'll start with Mark.
What I'd like to do is look around the world and find the greatest levee and bring it to Foster City and make it better. We need to be proud to take our friends and guests and family out to the levee and walk them around and show them the beauty of the bay and not be upset that we're living behind a 20-foot wall. So we're all gonna move anyway if that happens. So I think that's number one. The execution of it, it takes time. You gotta look through the plans, and we're gonna take a common sense approach with what works. So that's it.
Sanjay?
I was just going to lean on Jeff Moneta and Norm Dorais. To be honest, I think there are a lot of experts in this field that can really help. With the levee, it's not the first one, and we're not the first levee, and this is something that is a concern for our city. I think taking a collaborative approach of getting input not only from experts, but also from our community as to what they would like to see is going to be important. But I do think that with regards to management of the project, it'd be a conversation that I would definitely have with Jeff and with Norm.
Deborah?
Okay, I look at the levee a little different. I think we don't have a design of what it's going to look like, or if it has been lined or not. So I think the homeowners should have a participation in what this levee looks like, because we're going to have to live with it the rest of our life. We're putting up the $90 million to have it built, so we should have a say in it. The city will back us up for $10 million if we do have overruns, but after that, we're responsible on our own. So the city kind of looks at it like it's our levee, it's our homes. It's our homes, so we're protecting our homes, so that's why we're responsible to pay for it. If we're responsible to pay for it, we should have more of a say as to what it looks like.
Patrick?
Well, I'm proud to say that I had a Measure P on my lawn. I'm also proud to say that Podcast by the Bay interviewed quite a few of the people in Foster City, Jeff Moneta and Dante and Kevin Miller. It's important that we get it on time. the problem with workforce, with the workers right now. We've got a $90 million project. That project could accelerate anywhere another 10 or 20% if we don't get the workers. So my main thing is to make sure that it's done on time, because if we don't do it on time, it's going to cost us more money.
Paul.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank the City Council who voted 5-0 to put a Measure P ballot or measure on the ballot in the June 6th program that is helping us keep our city safe and avoided the flood insurance program that we did not need to pay. But getting to the basics of the budget, the schedule, we definitely need to press the budget. I don't know how many of you involved in the construction industry, but we see costs going through the roof all the time. We need to make this a priority for our city, is to get that out there, get it designed, get it bid, and get it started as soon as possible. With that, maintaining the schedule is an important part of any project, but the thing that we have to do as a city and all of us together is work to keep that amenity, the levy, the amenity that we've all come to enjoy and appreciate for our city. Thank you.
And Risha.
I think it's extremely important to complete the levy on time and on budget. I think we could create a citizen oversight committee to ensure transparency of build and cost. And I'm hopeful that if I get elected, I'll use my background in financial services industry to be able to contribute to this very important project.
Thank you. What do you think is wrong with Foster City, and how do you plan to fix it? Thought I'd go for a high-level question. Sanjay, you're first.
Not much. There's not much wrong with Foster City. This place is amazing. It's an amazing place for families. It's an amazing place from an educational perspective. It's for children. It's just an amazing place to develop and have a sense of community. We take care of our elderly. We take care of our children. There's a few things that we can turn the knob on a little bit, just move the needle. I think the biggest challenge I think we have is with our discourse. Civility, being unified. We can have different opinions. That's fantastic. It creates the best solutions. It's how we communicate with each other, how we work together, and how we pull together if we're going to really solve the problems that are facing us now and in the future. So, real minor point, nothing major wrong with Foster City at all in my mind, but real minor one, I think we can change that and start moving it in the right direction.
Thank you. Deborah?
What's wrong with Foster City? I don't think anything's wrong with Foster City. I think we have problems that we need to understand and discuss and take care of. But as far as wrong with Foster City, this is the most beautiful place I've ever lived in. And that's why I came here. I knew I was going to live here before I left Ohio. So this was the only city I chose to live in. So nothing's wrong with Foster City. We just need to take care of the traffic, again, the housing. Those are problems. They're not wrong. Thank you.
Patrick.
We just need to maintain the quality of life we all deserve in Foster City. We've got challenges with the rec center. We got challenges with commercial development, residential challenges too. So I think we have to take a look at the bigger picture and just realize there are challenges. It's important that we have a council that can cooperate with each other, that has respect for each other. When I took a application out to run for city council, I signed a code of ethics that I would work with my colleagues. And I think it's important that we treat the people that are on council like colleagues. It's long overdue that we need to do that. I've experienced not necessarily the best reputation for our council, and I think we can improve that. And I think that's the only major thing that I can see that we can improve on.
Thank you. Paul?
I had to think about that question for a while because as many of us up here, it's hard to find something wrong with a city that you've lived in for 30 years. If you didn't like it, You'd probably move on to the next city. But clearly, we could do better as a city in our communication back to our residents and working with our residents regarding some of the issues that we're going to have in front of us. Being more transparent from the standpoint of getting more information out to you from the standpoint of the Planning Commission or the items that are being discussed at the City Council level. But it's a great city. I encourage all of you to participate in some of the stuff that is going on in our city, become volunteers, become stewards of our city. It makes the city much better. Thank you.
Richa?
I think Foster City has one of the best quality of life on the peninsula, but we do have challenges. We have traffic challenges. We are turning 50 soon, so we have challenges with our infrastructure, and we have challenges with our quality of education. I think that we should be, with regards to infrastructure challenges, we should be careful in planning and setting money aside to be able to plan for the repair and replacement of infrastructure in a timely manner. We should partner with the school district to improve quality of education. And for traffic challenges, we should be working with the regional bodies and corporations.
Thank you. Mark?
Like I said before, I think Foster City is a gem, but I do think it needs to be polished. I think there's things that are missing in a general city that most cities have, like the high school. I think that we need to push each department to do better. Public Works is great. I see them out there all the time. We just need to keep our parks a little tidier. We have the most parks, best parks. We just make these great parks. I'd also like, as the city gets older, like she said, 50, going on 50 years, these houses were not built for 50 years. They need to be remodeled. So as they need to be remodeled, I think the city needs to help the people get through that process and make it a quicker, easier process. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the next question. And these, there were three, and they're basically related, and I'll combine two of them. What is your position on providing employee housing and the implications of the California rule for this benefit? And similarly, how would you vote for housing first responders? So I'll combine those two questions, and we start with Deborah.
Did you say housing and CalPERS?
What is your position on providing employee housing and the implication of the California rule for this benefit? And then also housing for first responders. So namely fire department, police, et cetera.
Okay, so the workforce housing, it's very controversial right now. We don't 100% know that it's going to happen, but it's leading that direction. When they were talking, I think you were talking about the 20% required RENA. Is that what you're referring to? The RENA requirements for the low income? Oh, okay, okay.
It was quote unquote the California rule.
That's it. The California rule is the 20% RENA?
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, so I believe the workforce housing probably will not be able to be used by the first responders, specifically because if there is a housing quota on it for low income, they're going to be making too much money to qualify. So that seems to be the controversial issue. It's not a slam dunk that they're going in there, because they do make more money between their salary, their overtime, and their CalPERS benefits.
Patrick.
Well, the problem's a little more complex than it appears. We have workforce housing, we have first-time housing. We need to establish what type of housing we really need. The state of California says we need 3.5 million. Foster City, I don't know how much housing do we need, how much senior housing do we need, how much workforce. But in regards to the question, the definition of first-time, First responders has been clarified with council. Sometimes they're including any employees. First responders mean to me police and fire and safety. So I think the question got a little bit convoluted the way people were expressing. We need to know what type of housing we really need. We need to find workforce housing for teachers. We need to find it for carpenters, plumbers, chiropractors, or maybe seniors. So I think we need to define that first before we can actually know what we need to develop.
Can I rephrase the question then? Okay, and we can start over again. All right, so there are necessary jobs within the community, okay, to support the community. How do you intend to provide housing for those people? So I'll start again with Deborah. I think that's the intent of those two questions.
Okay, so there's a couple ways you can look at this. If you have to have first responders locally, and they're making a decent salary, plus their overtime, plus their benefits, they're not going to qualify as what they call a low-income salary. So if you're given the homes, those homes to the first responders, then you're also giving them another benefit. So it's not a slam dunk. I really think that you need to look at teachers who make significantly less than first responders. And my other thought is this, do we really need first responders in the city? For instance, if we have a disaster, we're all going to gather around and help each other. We're not going to wait for somebody to come and help us. So my thoughts are, they don't have to live in the city. They may not want to live in the city. They may be living where they're perfectly happy and just working here. So, to have that housing totally for people who are first responders, I don't think is a fair idea.
Patrick?
Well, again, if we consider the first responders or police and fire, if we really take a look at it, most of the police and fire don't even live in their cities. So even though that definition of first responders gives us the idea that police and fire are going to live here, it's just not a reality. We do have a certified emergency response team in here, but I think we make the misnomer that we first have to establish what type of housing do we need and how do we develop that housing so it meets the adequate needs of the people in that community.
Okay, thank you. Paul?
I agree. It's a complex question, and it's a complex question for Foster City. But to take on the workforce housing issue, I did spend time to go ahead and speak with the HR director for the city of Foster City. And it was enlightening for me to understand where the salary packages truly are and where the workforce housing employees that may need that housing to even make their life somewhat nice. It was, again, an eye-opener for me. So on the workforce housing issue, I encourage all of you to talk and get your facts straight. But as we move forward with affordable housing and that sort of thing, we got to be careful because we are running into problems finding people for our retail stores. And that's why we're seeing a change in our retail businesses here for Foster City. The other thing we need to watch out for is all of the Senate bills that are being generated in California. We all need to get ourselves educated on those because they're coming down the pipe and they're lurking out there.
Risha?
Right. So in addition to police and fire, we in Foster City also depend on public works as first-time responders. And as I toured the fire department and the police department and took a tour of the city, I have learned that the city is dealing with a lot of retention issues. Some of the employees live quite far away because they are not able to afford a home here, and they commute 4 to 5 hours. So there is a very high cost of retention and keeping these employees. So I think even if a few would qualify, it will be a great benefit.
Sorry, Mark?
I'm for any workforce housing that is currently built. I think we need to make sure that it's used and that if we have to raise the qualifying standards because somebody makes over $100,000 a year, you can't buy a house in Foster City if you make $100,000 a year. The people that are coming in here, you have to be a millionaire. In order to buy a $2 million house, you have to make $500,000 a year. So we need to make sure that, I'm looking at the signs now, sorry, that we put our first responders, police, fire, anybody else that qualifies in there. And if it's not used, that would be a shame. I think that those are the, if that's part of the package, so be it. We need to incentivize the people to be here. Let's keep them here.
And Sanjay?
I think workforce housing is very, very important, as well as affordable housing. But I don't think we should pick who should get the place that's available. We should treat the hardworking employees that keep our city great just like we treat our residents that pay their taxes here. And we should allow both of them an equal opportunity to live here if they so desire to and they can't afford to. Our first responders are shared, and so they'll go to the nearest place of any disaster and help out. Even if we don't have our specific first responders, we'll still get support. And I think we should have a committee, from the community to oversee workforce housing and ensure that we're providing a fair choice to everybody who needs it.
Thank you. The next question is about the schools. There's a general question about how would you characterize the relationship between the cities and the school district, and how would you change it? And a second question specifically addressing overcrowded schools. And next would be Patrick.
Yes, the school's relationship with Foster City and the San Mateo Foster Elementary School District has been strained for the last probably 20 years. They've made an attempt with the council to meet with them on their grounds and then on council's ground. I think we strongly need to get a mediator in here and mediate the relationship between Foster City and San Mateo, because whatever process they're doing with talking with the stakeholders and talking to people as trustees, they haven't made really that much headway with the schools. The schools that are being built on the one in Charter Square, once it's completed, it will not necessarily meet all the requirements that we need for students, so we need to work closer on it.
Paul?
Thank you. Thank you. I agree. Our relationship with the San Mateo Foster City School Board seems to be strained. And I know there's a lot of individuals out there that are looking for the city council to step in and try and make some differences. I've heard we've tried, but the best voice, I think, for this particular issue is our residents. Our residents need to help us with this program and get over there and start speaking your mind with the San Mateo Foster City School District. We've had problems. We need to have a one voice that sets the right expectation with our school board. Thank you.
Risha?
Working at Site Council at Brewer Island, I strongly feel that there are opportunities to improve relationship with the school district, and it can be done with open dialogue and cooperation. If I were elected, I would try to facilitate a remodel of the Bowditch School. It's overcrowded and infrastructure is extremely poor. With the 4th elementary school being added, we need to really be ahead of that problem and help with facilitating the upgrade of Bowditch School.
Mark?
We need to do whatever it takes for education. Education drives property values. It's the reason we moved here and not Palo Alto was because my kids were in homeschooled. So we had that option. But Palo Alto was where everybody wanted to go, but you have to pay $3,000 a square foot to get into Palo Alto, so it was unaffordable, so we couldn't do it. But that is driven by the schools. So whether you have a kid in school or not, and I don't, you need to have strong schools. Everything we do, we can try new charter schools to alleviate crowding, online, encourage that if people are interested, and I think that's where we need to go with that.
Sanjay?
Okay, I'll give you some numbers before we get into why the other issues that we have here. California ranks 41st in per pupil funding, and we have the 5th largest economy. California schools rank 45th in student to teacher ratio, and out of 23 school districts in San Mateo County, the San Mateo Foster City School District ranks 20th in per pupil funding. Our Foster City Elementary School has 900 children, Audubon 750, Brewer Island 675, and we have over 1,000 students in Bowditch. We have a fundamental challenge here, and it's exacerbated by the fact that we are at probably the lowest point in our relationship with the school district. It needs to be repaired. I have experience working with school districts across the U.S., not just here. I understand how to partner with them and collaborate with them and address our current challenges. We need some more transparency into how money's being spent and make sure more of it's going, all of it, as much as possible, is going to the children and the teachers. And then, of course, we have to overcome the challenge that the school district's been sued by us.
Deborah. Deborah.
Yes,
Okay.
he was still on.
Oh, was he? Okay.
Oh, yes. Okay, so the schools. Yes, we do have problems with schools in Foster City, and one of the biggest one is that we don't have a high school to send our children to, and that's part of the reason we have traffic problems in the morning and at 3 at night is because we're toting kids over to San Mateo to go to school, and then we're bringing them back at 3, then we're taking them back out maybe a third time for their extracurricular activities. So my thoughts are if we could find a piece of land here that we could build a high school on, that the parents of children who want to go to school here can go to school here. And the problem I understand that we're having with the San Mateo Foster City School District is because San Mateo is getting marching orders from Sacramento. So, you know, that's part of the discord. About 10 years ago, we asked the homeowners if they would like to have a high school here in the city, and 80% said yes. If we ran that again now, I'm sure that would be the same answer.
Thanks for finishing quickly. Foster City was invited to be a sister city with a city in Japan. They would like to invite our kids to live in Japan and learn about their culture. If elected, would each of you commit to discussing the invitation at a council meeting? And Paul, you're up first.
Sister city relationships for cities are not uncommon. A variety of different ways and thoughts occur around those relationships. I don't understand the pluses and the minuses, but I don't have an issue listening to what might occur or what might be presented for our city. I would like to know the facts before I make a final decision, but listening to it, I would not have any issue.
Risha?
I think that we should be gathering facts and evaluating and listening to our residents on their interest on this topic. I would definitely be open to listening and understanding what makes most sense, which city resonates better with the culture and with the type of residents we have. But I'm open to discussing and I'm open to listening.
Thank you. Mark?
Absolutely. I would do it in a second. I'd bring the kids over there myself. I think traveling anywhere around the world is just a unbelievable experience. That we have a bunch of cultures here and everywhere in our city, and to experience somebody else's culture educates you just with that visit alone. And to go to school over there for a month, a semester, is just invaluable. My niece went to London for 6 months, and the experiences are just, you'll never forget them. And you learn more visiting and being with other people than you will ever talking about it. Thanks.
Sanjay?
皆さん、私の名前はSanjayです。どうぞよろしく。日本語を話します。I spent a year in Japan. I speak Japanese, not as well as I used to, but I agree with what my fellow council members are saying, or not yet council members, candidates. Sorry, I took it too far. Took it too far, yeah. I agree, okay? It's a phenomenal opportunity for our children to get exposed to different cultures. It really changes your thought process, how you respect others, how you don't think about yourself first, how you almost forget about yourself a little bit and think about how other people live, and I think that makes you a better person. that type of selflessness, that approach to community, these things can all be intertwined to help us be a more receptive community, a community that's tighter knit. And so I'm a big supporter of it.
Deborah?
The question was, would I consider it? Absolutely. I don't know I don't know the details of it, but I certainly would listen and I certainly would entertain it. That's my answer.
And Patrick?
Well, Councilman Steve Akamoto, thank you for the great question. I appreciate it. I just wanted to let you know that I appreciate it, and I support you on that. Thank you.
Okay, a little bit more seriously here. So I've got two budget questions, so I'm going to ask the first one, and then I'll ask the second. So evidently, there's a pension deficit in Foster City. So the question is, how will you address the pension deficit? And the first will be Richa.
The good news is that the state has mandated PEPRA, which is Public Employee Pension Reform Act, and that will minimize cities' financial contribution and would expect slightly more from the employees. We could also look at some of the creative ways on looking at the overall compensation package rather than just looking at the base compensation. And in overall, from budget standpoint, budget depends on expenditure, revenue, increasing the revenue, and also deferring some of our maintenance. So that would be one of the ways to maintain the budget from my standpoint.
Thank you. Mark?
I would defer to the experts and listen to them and find out both sides, if there is another side, of how to solve the problem and go vote accordingly.
Sanjay?
Sure. I think PEPRA does help. It helps with the new employees. We have an issue here with CalPERS, which is about 30 cents short on the dollar with regards to where they need to be. And they have reforecasted their growth in their investments to 7% from 7.5%. So we have a very serious problem here. Now the question that comes up is, should we include unfunded pension liability payments into our annual budget and reduce that over time? And that's a great idea. And I think it really comes down to, again, speaking with the experts to understand how much we can trust California. If CalPERS completely collapses and we make these payments to reduce our unfunded liability, are we still going to get stuck holding the bag? So I think it's something that we really need to discuss, but it's a very serious issue.
Deborah?
Well, this is a very technical problem. CalPERS, as you know, is the California Public Employees Retirement and Health Benefits. So earlier this year, the council members came to us and they said that they had a concern that CalPERS may increase up to 85 to 95% in year 2024. And if that is the case, right now we're paying about 52% of our general fund reserves to public safety workers, that's police and firemen. If we, in 2024, that'll be 80%. Right now we're paying 30% of our general revenue reserves to administrative personnel. And by 2024-25, that's going to be 40%. So if it continues to grow at that rate, we're going to be in big trouble. So we really need to figure out a strategic way to approach that in another manner.
Patrick?
Collaboration. When I interviewed the mayors on the peninsula, I interviewed about 16 of them. There's only 3 cities that they can fund their pensions. I think one of them is Atherton, the other's Woodside, and the other's Portola Valley. Also had an opportunity to talk to Mayor Peter Otaki in Menlo Park. He had a very creative way of working with the pensions with the police and fire. We have to start looking at with the experts and be a little bit more creative with the way we approach the pensions, because in the next few years we'll have a major problem.
Paul?
Thank you. this PERS issue is a huge issue for our budget and our city. And having the right people in place to help us guide the right process, putting money aside, looking for how to solve and how to pay or how to ask our employees for their contributions or to increase their contributions are all going to be part of a Rubik's Cube for a solution of this particular problem. I also worry, as Sanjay has mentioned, also worry about paying too much against our unfunded liability and end up having to pay twice because there's some other solution that the state of California comes up. I think we need to be careful on all of those issues and be aware that it's going to be one of our biggest budget problems that we're going to be facing over the next few years.
Okay, so the second budget question is around the structural deficit facing the city in light of upcoming important projects. So the question is, how would you handle that deficit? And would you seriously consider cost cutting in addition to increasing revenue stream? So first up is Mark.
Well, I think some of the deficit will get taken care of as the people flip their houses and stop paying on $100,000 and start paying on $2.5 million. We'll start collecting a lot more property tax. We're going to get a lot more income from that. The new buildings over here are going to create another $1 million worth of property taxes. So I think as the city grows, we don't have an issue where we have a tax base that's low on these houses, and we're going to increase that. And I think so that over time is gradually going to help us, and we're going to be a very flourishing city in the future. Yeah, we have some of these problems, but again, we'll leave it to the financial experts to give us the best advice and then go with it.
Sanjay?
See, I agree with Mark. So long as, Proposition 13 homes aren't being transferred and the taxes aren't being transferred to the children, that could affect us. We need to look at that. But we need also, with regard to the structural deficit, is taken into account some estimate of what's going to be spent for the rec center and the revitalization of our parks. And I think we're waiting till about October 17th or 18th to get the proposals from for the rec center, just 3 options for that. And so I don't know myself what that cost is right now. And I believe Jennifer Liu, last I spoke with her, we're still going to submit a proposal in for the revitalization of the parks. And so I know there's some that's taken into it, but I don't know exactly how much we're looking at.
Deborah?
This is easy. I do not know enough to speak what a structural deficit is or isn't or how it affects us, honestly.
Fair enough. Patrick?
Well, a structural deficit basically means you're spending more than you're taking in, to keep it simple. And when we talk about it, we also have a community improvement project. So we're going to have to look at it on a case-by-case basis. We should look at it on a 5-year budget. But you're also going to realize that we may at one time maybe need to cut back on certain improvements and stuff like that, whether it's a fleet of new cars for the employees or whether it's a fire truck or whatever it may be. So we're going to have to look at each budget and evaluate it as it comes forward.
Paul?
Truly, there are 3 things that you can look at. A, flat out cuts. B, drive the revenues and increase your revenues. And C, go ahead and defer your maintenance. All of those, the first 2 really, the first and the third affect your quality of life. And that's what makes those cuts very tough and tough to deal with. But where we're at today is we do have a program that's starting that's going to help us drive some of the business and hopefully share some of the risk of bringing businesses into our city. So we started a program. Dante Hall's leading it, and I'm looking forward to seeing some of the results on that. But recently, we're starting a TOT tax, right? So we're going to try and drive our revenues through the hotel taxes that and income that we currently have set at our city. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed that gets passed on, I believe, this election. Thank you.
Richard?
I agree. There are three ways to maintain a balanced budget: controlling expenditure, increasing revenue, and deferring maintenance. It is challenging because 80% of our budget is for staff salaries. Police and fire account for 50%. So we need to be creative in identifying revenue silos, and we should be thinking about delaying or deferring paving streets, as an example, or resurfacing tennis courts. So it's going to be challenging. We need to come up with creative ways to address that.
Okay. Serving on any city council requires a large investment of time and energy. If elected, how will you prepare for each council meeting and the new business agenda items for the council's consideration? And starting with Sanjay.
I think it starts with reading all the reports, having a strong relationship with the city staff. Being prepared is not just connecting with the city staff, but also connecting, with the community and the action committees and collaborating, with them. I think the other important thing is if we all take on initiatives, we can break this problem up so you don't have to be an expert on everything. We can take pieces of it and work as a team to do its best for the city. But fundamentally, on a weekly basis, it's all about preparation, ensuring that you're connected with the people that are generating the reports, and as well as management.
Deborah?
To prepare for the meetings, I basically would just read all the reports necessary to make a decision and know my facts. And I think when you're involved in things over and over and over, it takes less and less time to get up to speed. What I tend to do is, prepare a couple days before. I'm currently on a committee. I find out everything I can about the subject matter, and I make my decisions. So I think that's basically it. If you have to reach out to other people, for instance, this case, you're a city council, so you need to go with the city and ask them what's going on, your constituents, what do they want to do, how do they want things handled. You just need to reach out to people and make them a part of your community, because that's why you're here. They put you here.
Patrick?
Read the material, read the material, read the material. But before you read that material, write down those questions. Go to those appropriate departments and ask those tough questions, because you don't want to be wasting the staff's time asking them in the middle of council. So it's important to be prepared. It's important to be prepared. That's what I say, be prepared.
Paul?
Thank you. I do it the same way I do it for planning. You start off with a staff report. You start going through the basic documents. You call staff with questions. You call others that may be able to help you understand something that seems to be a little bit out of whack, or have gone through the same sort of problem or issue before. Then you go out and you take a look at the sites. You actually visit the issue that you might be addressing, if it's a local, or if it's maybe it's a paper issue versus a site issue. But you go ahead and you get involved. You get involved with the issue, and then it prepares you for sitting up here on the diocese and giving and providing the right direction that you need to keep Foster City first.
Risha?
It goes back to the basic principles of managing time and efficiency and effectiveness. Reading materials ahead of time, getting help from staff as needed. Those will be some of the things I would also use to represent council better.
Mark?
Well, I'm semi-retired. My wife would say you're fully retired, but so all I have is time. I don't need to budget my time. It'd be all I'm going to be doing. It'd be my singular focus is to help and try to solve the problems and issues of Foster City. So that's how I'd be able to prepare with a lot of time.
There has been discussion on Nextdoor and with some current council members regarding repurposing the land north of East 3rd Avenue, currently occupied by the Mariners Point Golf Course? It's Mariners, right? It says Mainers here, that's why. Foster City High School was the most recent topic for discussion, and redevelopment into housing or a hotel have also been suggested as higher income uses of the land. Here's the question. Do you believe the golf course should be eliminated in favor of a high school or any other development? Deborah.
No, I do not feel that Mariner should be eliminated for high school. I think we can find another location for high school, but I do think we need a high school. We need the golf course. We have a lot of retired folks here in the city. That alone should be a reason to keep it, but the golf course is visited by everyone all over the peninsula, so no, I don't think that that should be torn down.
Patrick?
No, I don't think that the golf course should be torn down. It's bringing revenue to the city, and I think we should maintain it. And maybe it could be used for some other type of use if it so fits the city.
Paul?
Being in the real estate business, one of the first things that you look at when you have a piece of property, or one of the first consultants that you call, is a highest and best use consultant. You ask that individual to go out there and take a look at the property and give us a third-party look at the highest and best use for that. It doesn't mean that you're going to go that direction, but you have that as a foundation to understand what you have. With that, I think we should look at our land use and circulation elements, see what we might need, whether it's housing, whether it's keeping the golf course, whether it's an amenity issue. I think we have a lot of options for that particular site, and I don't think it's time today to say, is it a high school or is it something else? Is it a housing? Is it more buildings for office? Today is the time to think about what we need to make a good judgmental call on that particular site. And I think the lease is up somewhere around 2023, so it's around the corner.
Richa?
Yeah, I would need more information, more facts to be able to come to that decision. It goes back to the land use. We will need to understand whether that site would be suitable for a high school or not, what are the limitations thereof. And most importantly, I would like to hear from the residents what their preferences are, what they would want. But definitely would start with looking at the data, facts, and information.
Mark?
Thanks. I would leave it open as an option. I would try to find other suitable areas, but it would be sad if we lost the golf course. But I'd also, if it had to be a hard choice to make and I found out that the facts and we went back and forth, and I would choose to make that hard decision. A high school over a golf course is, for me, a no-brainer.
Sanjay?
I agree with what Richa ended with. I think, what do you want? It's our city. If there's an opportunity to develop something, build something, change something, we're here to represent you. We're here to serve your interests. I've heard that there are some challenges in getting feedback from the community. I started polling as part of my efforts to better understand the city as a candidate. Sent out 500 emails, got 50 responses. It's not bad. It could be better. It could be better. But I think there's an opportunity to bind us closer together and get that feedback loop working. I think the city's doing a great job with everything they're trying to do to reach out to the community, but there's still a little bit of a gap. And so I think there's an element there that we can improve, but I'd really leave it up to what you would want as a city.
So there is a question specifically for you, Sanjay, and then I'll ask the question, and then all of you will be able to answer. Your slogan is, quote unquote, vote for change. It seems Foster City is doing quite well. What specific changes are you proposing and why?
Thanks, Herb.
It's my job to do the lead-ins.
I know where this is coming from. It was just emailed to me. So, what we need to change, and I kind of started with this, is our discourse. How are we engaging with each other? Are we really communicating in a civil way, in a unified way? Is this the best that we have? Now, I've seen it on both sides. I've seen the council get beat up. I've seen the council beat people up. But it doesn't just stop there. You go online, it's happening within our neighbors on next door, you know? And so what I'd like to be able to change is the direction of that discourse. Let's take it back and move the needle back towards civility and unity so that we can solve the problems that are facing us as a unified group. Thanks for the question.
And we'll go in order, Deborah.
Vote for change was not my slogan. So I really don't know what Sanjay wanted to change. But for me, it's not about change. It's about identifying the problems and finding solutions for the individuals who live in this town. So for me, I would reach out to the community. I would ask what your desires are. When you come to the council meetings, I would listen to you. And if that makes change, then change is good. So that's my answer.
Patrick?
Well, mine was not the same slogan as Sanjay's, but mine is collaboration. We need to collaborate with the voters. We need to collaborate with the public, with the council, with the departments. And the more we collaborate, we gain experiences. And we gain those experiences, we're going to have solutions. So it's called communication. And I think sometimes the communication has been wonderful on the council. Other times it hasn't been the best. The most important thing is you're a public servant. And being a public servant, you have to have some respect for not only your colleagues, but for the public.
Paul?
Since we're talking about slogans, mine is putting Foster City first. That's what I've done on the Planning Commission. That's what I look forward to do if I'm elected on the City Council. But putting Foster City first means a lot of things. As what Patrick just said, it's collaboration. It's bringing the people together for a consensus, not only in the residences, but the group that's up here at the diocese. So I'm looking forward to stepping in, trying to put Foster City first every time I can, and looking forward to be your next council member. Thank you.
Risha?
I want to be the voice of the residents. That's my slogan. I want to represent you. I can represent all demographics, all age groups, and I want to be your voice in the council.
And Mark?
My slogan is common sense is coming. And what I'd like to do is bring in communities together. I'd like to have events, local events, whether it's block parties, everything, to get to know your neighbors. It's a lot safer place when we know our neighbors, when we look out for each other, and we're taking note of what's going on. Next door is actually pretty good for that. It's not good for the political banter. It's just a waste of time. You will never see me comment on anything other than there's a sale or I got a free mattress out in front of my house. So that's it. So you can't bait me into going on there. You can say whatever you want about me. I'm good. I would suggest to the council that they ignore it as well. Thanks.
Okay, so I've got a very simple question here. And it says, what are your plans for the recreation center? And then we would start with Patrick.
Well, first of all, I don't have any plans except to look at the suggested ideas and bring it to the public and get collaboration together and get some experience on what we really should do with it. The most important thing is the preservation of the parks. I was on the Park and Rec for 10 years and chaired the Park and Rec. So it's important we keep talking about the quality of life, and that's what we need to maintain. So my first mission is the quality of life for Foster City. And with that said, I want to get as much input, as much collaboration, and different solutions. It's not just one report and one idea.
Paul?
At the rec center, that is another item that has hit my list, and it's hit the list of several people here in the city. The rec center, we have a couple of options. Number one, put about $7 million into what's there, or number two, redevelop it and put it into something that potentially will be for our future. I'm not saying I'm in favor of one or the other. but clearly now is the time before we put an extensive amount of money into the rec center that we take a look at some of the options. It was good for me to walk through the site when we had the first walkthrough and be a part of the first working session. It gave me a good understanding of the value of that amenity and how beautiful that portion of our parks really is over at Leo Ryan Park. It's amazing. I consider it one of our jewels in our city, and I think we should cherish it. So I'm looking forward, as Patrick, looking forward to seeing what those first concepts are coming out. So, thanks.
So the rec center building is 40 years old, and I think that it's time to bite the bullet and figure out the options to create better amenities for our current and future families. But the real question is, that we need to ask our residents is, what should it be? What should the scope of it be? Who should it serve? What's the cost, and how would that be paid? So we need to evaluate the responses to these before making any decisions.
Mark?
Well, I still have to look at the current proposals, but I think we need to take advantage of the water and bring in, I think the new plans may have include restaurants. I still have to catch up on all that. But when I was in at the Australian Open, they have a fabulous place where it's big sloped area where there's grass, a big screen, surrounded by 2 stories of restaurants and areas that the community gathers almost every single night to watch something on the big screen or a performance. And it was just one of the coolest places I'd ever been. And bring some kind of idea like that with something that we can incorporate something like that with maybe looking out towards the water.
Sanjay?
So I love the out-of-the-box ideas. We have to assess those based on noise, how it carries across the water, and also what the city really wants there. Obviously, my bigger concern really is that if we have the levee coming out, the water plant, wastewater plant project, revitalizing our parks, we've got the rec center, unfunded pension liability. I would like to educate myself on what Edmund Suyen's looking at with regards to our risk. What risks do we have? I think the design of it is fantastic. We can figure that out and collaborate with the developer to make it happen for us. But I'd really like to understand what the risks are with all these things coming in, and where does that get prioritized?
Deborah?
Yeah, I agree with Rishi. It's a 40-year-old building, and you have 2 choices. You can either repair it or you can tear it down. And I understand that it's going to cost as much to repair it as it would be to tear it down. Now I need the facts, so I can't, that's not in stone. But I also understand we've already spent $300,000 to get a design of what we would like the new rec center to look like. And I understand it does include restaurants for that location. So when I was talking to Edmund, he told me that he thought that the rec center would be rebuilt using funds from the Capital Appreciation Fund. That would be the 15 acres that the PCC sets on. So I would like to see the Capital Reserves Asset Fund used for other things besides a rec center.
All right, thank you. How will you address the glut of high-rise housing? Are you willing to wait until everything that has been approved is built to assess the effect on our infrastructure before considering more housing? And Paul's up.
I'm sorry, could you state that one more time?
Sure. So the first question, it's really a 2-part question. How will you address the glut of high-rise housing? Are you willing to wait until everything that has been approved is built to assess the effect on our infrastructure before considering more housing?
Thank you. I think I heard you correctly, the glut of high-rise housing?
The glut of high-rise housing.
Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to confirm. My apologies. I'm not sure we have a glut of high-rise housing here. We are, per the state of California.
Maybe I can say it might be high-density housing?
maybe
might-
high-density housing.
Okay.
Even then, I would probably take a little exception to that. But regardless, from the standpoint of a state of wow, they are merciless. Let's start again. From the standpoint of the state of California, we don't have enough housing here in the city of Foster City, especially on the affordable side. We're still short of our RHNA requirements, so I'm not sure we do have a glut in our city. T. Jack Foster actually proposed that we would have somewhere around 35,000 people in our city. We only have about 33 or so currently. So really that fast?
Risha?
So Foster City has been one of the most responsible cities in the state of California. My understanding is that we have met and exceeded state requirements as determined by RHNA. We have been proactive and have been addressing the housing crisis. At the same time, Foster City by itself cannot address the housing crisis. We must use the well-established principles of smart growth and balance that with quality of life. We must try to get residents buy-in and input before making any decisions.
Mark?
I would wait and see how it's going to affect the current buildings that are in the pipeline and all approved. For the people that are interested in where everybody stands on the last vote, I would have voted no for what was issued, but like I said, I would have lost, and I'd get on their side and should make that great. I would like to see more business, retail, restaurants, so anything that provides that, I think, is a help, and that's it.
Sanjay?
I would like to vitalize retail, restaurants. I think it'd be amazing. We've got a phenomenal, location here. I think we should take a break from any housing proposals until we have fully evaluated the impact on all of our resources of everything that has already been approved. And I'd like to give the rest of my time to Paul, if he'll take it.
You want 30 seconds?
Well, thank you. From my point of view as being a planning commissioner, we're up here every day looking at where our city stands. I look at our city at this point and see it virtually built out. I know that may come as a shock to some of you, but we only have about 100 apartments that are right behind us here, and that's going to be filled up with seniors. And if you think that that's going to be a huge impact to our city, nowhere near what it was like before anything started over here. So I would say we are built out. And we know those impacts. And I would not be afraid of understanding and making decisions going forward.
Thank you, Ms. Timekeeper.
You're heartless.
No. Deborah?
Yeah, regarding whether we are have met our RHNA requirements, my understanding is that Foster City alone is number 4 in the top 13 best jurisdictions throughout the state of California. And we're number 4 out of the total state of California of 378. So we have more than met our house requirements. My opinion would be to stop building anymore until we fix the traffic, the infrastructure, the schools, and did you give me a sign? 30 seconds. Oh, okay. And then we can go on. Now, people are saying that we haven't met our RHNA requirements for 2024-25, and that's only 5 years away. But if we're number 4 out of 378, I don't think we need to continue building to meet those requirements in 5 years. So that's my opinion.
And Patrick?
We're one of the very fortunate cities that we actually have a 20% requirement to build affordable housing. Not one other city on the peninsula that I'm aware of that I've interviewed does have that 20% requirement. We should be proud of Foster City for doing that. The cost of real estate, just the land, is probably 50% of the cost to build and make affordable housing. The state of California recently is talking to the governor about surplus land. We should look at the surplus land that we have available that the San Mateo County and the state own to build affordable housing or workforce housing that is close to our city.
So this is, I'm going to ask this question because it's an interesting question. Costco gas station, for or against, and why? Risha, you're first. Can you repeat the question? Costco gas. So evidently, Costco is looking to put in a gas station, which they don't currently have in Foster City. Are you for or against it, and why?
So I do not have enough facts to be able to answer that question directly. However, I can share my thoughts based on what I know so far. I understand that city receives $800,000 in sales tax from Costco every year, and Costco is interested in increasing its services, which also includes a gas station. Again, with any new project, we should be looking at the impact that it would have on our city and on the traffic. We are already dealing with traffic challenges, and that would increase the traffic. But then at the same time, there are residents who are interested in cheaper gas. So we need to be able to talk with the residents, and we need to be able to look at the impacts and then make a decision.
Mark?
I'm a Costco member. Sure, I'd love to have cheaper gas, but I think we have enough gas stations in the city. I don't think we need to put any pressure on our other local businessmen with a big corporation coming in and charging 10 cents less and getting all the business. I wouldn't necessarily be opposed if it was in their own parking lot. I know the chatter on next door is that they wanted to use Orchard Supply, which I think is ridiculous. So that's it.
Sanjay?
I get my gas at AM/PM. I support local businesses. The analysis, Richa, that you did is, I think, absolutely accurate. We have to look at how much we're getting and what it's going to cost us to upset them if they left, right? And what does that mean to our community? A lot of people are getting free lunches at Costco on Sundays. And spending a lot of money there. So, I think there is a threat that if we just take a hard line, that they'd be looking for an alternate place. And I'd like to evaluate that and work with them on it. But if they tie it right into 92, there's going to be some traffic. I mean, as long as people don't cut through. But again, take a little bit more evaluation.
Deborah?
Yeah, we don't have all of the details, but if you think about it, we've had Costco here for a very long time, and a lot of our residents use it. So I think if they're adding gas stations and we're able to get a bigger Costco and the sales revenues pump up to over $1 million, I don't see why we shouldn't accept it. That's my personal opinion.
Patrick?
Well, I think answering that question is that we need sales tax coming in, and that would help the city, but it also means where are we going to put that gas station? So depending on the location and the way it's figured out, and we bring it to the public, let the public make their decisions. We're public servants, so I'd like to see that the public make that decision or help us make that decision. So we realize it would be a good boondoggle for us because we don't have that much sales tax coming in here. Our retail is not the best in comparison to other cities.
And Paul?
A couple of months ago, we saw the concepts at the Planning Commission for the Costco store. And during that scoping session that occurred, I mentioned to them on a couple of occasions, it's really going to be about the traffic, but also they are our partners. During the scoping session, there's a couple of different ways to ask them to present. One of them was a build with the gas station closer to Visa, and a no build. That's how you look at different projects. But from taking it back, I know, 30 seconds, taking it back from a high level, right? I look at the Costco location as I do with the Orchard Supply location as a gateway to our community. Whatever we do there, we come off 92, we see whatever is there. Hopefully not an empty Orchard Supply store, but something that going forward, I'm going to be looking at those sites as a gateway to our community and making sure it says something about our community when we drive there and see our first curb appeal site. I'll be quiet now.
Okay, last question of the night. I'd ask you to keep your answer brief. Name one quality of life improvement that you will focus on in the first 90 days should you be elected. And the first answer is Mark.
Oh, I'll take the first 30 thinking about it. Like a spelling bee, can you repeat the question?
Sorry. Basically, what's the first issue you're going to address in the first 90 days that you're on the council, if you're elected?
See where they are with traffic, and try to help bring a lot of fresh ideas. I think that's going to be my strong point. I'm a nice guy, friendly, get along with everybody. So I think it's time to we'll take each issue and we'll decide common sense. Thanks.
Sanjay?
Unprepared.
Short-term traffic solutions, and I think obviously the issue is much broader, and there's a lot of outside forces that are causing this issue for us. But short-term traffic solutions, things that we can just kind of tinker with and see if they'll work in the near term to help our residents.
Deborah?
If you ask 100 people what they mean by quality of life, you're going to get 100 different answers. So for quality of life of Foster City, I think, one, I would engage the residents to talk to me about what is important to them. But what I'm finding by walking is that traffic is the biggest thing I'm hearing about. So my first concern would be to find a solution for traffic.
Patrick?
Well, first of all, I've got two. I want to make sure that that levy goes forward on a timely fashion. So I want to push that levy because that's the most important thing right here now. So that's number one. Two is traffic. I think we need to collaborate with surrounding cities, just like I talked about the carpool idea. There's no set answer to solving the traffic problem. We need to collectively work with surrounding cities to figure the solution.
Paul?
Quality of life issue. Keeping our city safe. And how we do that is we make sure our police and fire department have what they need to keep us safe. That's number one. Number two, that we focus on that doggone levy and we get that thing under contract and we keep our city safe by building that levy as quickly and as efficiently as we can and keep it an amenity. Thank you.
I would also focus on traffic. So in addition to some of the solutions we already talked about, mass transit, HOV lanes, et cetera, I think that we can do better in working with corporations to pitch in more dollars to help us find the solutions. And I have also heard that $50 million have been dedicated to deal with 92-101 exchange with the state. I would like to learn more about it and how we can influence and achieve better outcomes.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go to closing statements now. I'm going to let the candidates think about how they want to sum up. In the meantime, I'm going to, yes, everybody gets 2 minutes, okay, for their closing statement. I am going to take this opportunity to do a little bit of, give you a little bit more information about the League of Women Voters. Most importantly, there is a website at votersedge.org. So that's VOTERSEDGE, all one word, .org, which will have information about the candidates. And also, actually, I don't know if all the candidates have entered their information, but you can go to that website and enter your information. So that's something I would encourage you to do. And Also, 2 cents about the League of Women Voters again. We're a nonpartisan political organization that's open to both men and women of voting age. If you're interested in helping your community with forums such as this, brochures are available on this table back here, as well as information about joining the League. You can, since this is televised, you can also check the League website. And then the League is also famous for doing pros and cons, okay, for all the bond issues and et cetera that are coming up in November. And I urge you to take a copy of that as well. So, you want one?
I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
So previously, all that information was up on smartvoter.com, so is the Voter's Edge the replacement for smartvoter.com?
I don't think so. I think they both exist.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think they both exist. But that's a guess. I don't know the answer 100%.
It doesn't seem to have the same access to candidates as yours does. Yours does a much better job.
Oh, well, thank you. We think so too. I'm sorry, say again? So he was asking if smartvoter.com, it's .org, I think. .org.
.org used to be the organization that listed all the candidates' qualifications, papers, and position papers. It seems to not exist anymore, and in fact, I think votersedge.com seems to be the replacement for it, because it has all the same information.
Yes, I urge you to go to votersedge.org, okay, for candidate information. Okay, so I think we're ready for closing statements, and we're going in reverse order of the introductory statements, opening statements. So we'll start with Paul Williams. 2 minutes.
Thank you. 2 minutes. Thank you. As with our prior city councils, the new city council are going to have our challenges. City budgets, traffic, housing, education, levy, and most importantly, our challenge for quality of life. These are the same issues we all share the same passion for. But by working together, we can solve them together. I feel my passion, my ability to listen, dedication, knowledge, and experience on the Planning Commission. If elected, I will continue to champion the best interests of our residents who call Foster City our home. Thank you, and please vote for me.
Sanjay?
Hi, Veer. Look around you. This is your community. All right? We're all here because we care about this community. And it's been an integral part of who I am. It's taught me, like my father and my mother taught me, a work ethic. It taught me respect. It taught me selflessness. And it's important for us to preserve that. In order to preserve that, we must engage in collaborative communication, not just within our city walls with each other in a respectful way, but also across cities, because many of the challenges we're facing are not just because we live in Foster City, it's because we live in the Bay Area. It's going to be ever more imperative to do that. I spent quite a bit of my time in Edgewater Park growing up, quite a bit of my time at Sea Cloud Park growing up. Can't think of a better place on the planet to raise our son. And we're committed to this. I'm committed to you. And I hope as you get to know us a little bit better and take the time. Well, sure, the issues are tough and challenging. They've been challenging for many councils, okay? Even the sitting one. They're making difficult decisions every day. So it's going to be tough also for us. But think about the experiences we bring. Think about the personality traits that you want up here. Think about who's endorsing us. What do they stand for? Think about these things, get to know us, think about the positions that we have. And I didn't hear anybody here make promises, so now they have to worry about that.
Patrick, you're up next.
Well, we've been talking about the next 10 to 15 years here to maintain the quality of life in Foster City. We're talking about the levee, we're talking about the rec center, we're talking about what we would do with the rec center. These are big, big, big projects, and we need everybody to participate. We need cooperation, collaboration, and experience. In Foster City, I've been participating since day one. I've been in Foster City almost 30 years, not quite. As again, I served on the Park and Rec. I also served on some other committees too. Also have attended most of the council meetings for the last 3.5 years, just sitting there listening diligently, also participating when necessary. I'd like to see more participation from the public. Tonight is an outstanding crowd of people here, all concerned about the city of Foster City. And we need to, the problems we share are the same problems that Belmont's suffering, San Mateo's doing, so we need to come up with fresh ideas. We can't be stuck in old boxes because we can't change without getting out of that old box. We need solutions by collaboration.
Thank you. Deborah, you're next.
So tonight you've sat here and listened to us all talk about the issues and what we think is important to you and how each of us can help you going forward. I'm not a politician, I'm not a developer. I'm a kind of get it done kind of girl. I say a little and I mean a lot. So basically what I have to say is now is time for us to take action and show results. That'll do it for me. Thank you.
Risha?
This has been an amazing and enlightening experience. We have a fantastic community, and they are passionate, even though they may not agree all the time. But there's one thing we all agree on. It's our love for Foster City. I have really enjoyed meeting with the residents and listening to their views. In closing, I would like to share that I'm humbled and honored to have the endorsement of my community, regional and local officials, including former mayor and councilwoman Pam Frisilla, Mayor Sam Hindy, former Mayor Rick Wyckoff, Assembly Member Kevin Mullen, Supervisor Dave Canepa, Council Member Charlie Brunetsky, and former Council Member Steve Okamoto. This is just a short list of many community members who support our vision. It is humbling to have the endorsement of our 3 existing council members. Today, I'm asking for your support and your vote because I have the vision, the passion, and experience to serve our community. I have demonstrated results through my volunteer and service opportunities. I represent all Foster City residents, all demographics, all age groups. I will be your voice in the council. I have the empathy to listen, and I have the abilities to act. Through collaboration, teamwork, and transparency, I will strive to enhance your trust and confidence in our leadership. And together, as a community, we will maintain, protect, and enhance our future. Thank you.
Mark?
Thank you. I want people to vote for me for my fresh and impartial approach to the city council. I'm self-financing this campaign. I'm not taking endorsements, whether you want to or not. I will take your vote. When I'm elected, I'll also donate my stipend to the Foster City Police, firemen, and teachers every month, creating either lunch or whatever it can pay for, Subway. So for me, it's about common sense, taking one issue at a time, not judging people by their last decision, but taking everything one step at a time, getting the best advice, bringing the best tech, and lead this city and lead the Bay Area, show the other cities what they need to do to catch up to us and not hope that we just follow what the closest city is doing to us. So common sense, don't donate, vote for Mark. I wish everybody luck. You guys are a nice gang. Good luck to everybody.
Okay, I'm going to remind everybody to vote on Tuesday, November 6th, and encourage others to vote as well. I want to thank my helpers from the League of Women Voters, Marion Obriga, our timekeeper, Susan Ray, and Shirley Robertson, our ushers who funneled up the questions. I want to thank the audience for all your great questions. And the fact that you showed up, that was terrific. And of course, I want to thank the candidates, okay, for all showing up. And for your very well-considered answers. And then, of course, our Priscilla and, yes, Priscilla Tam, okay, our city clerk who organized this. So big round of applause for everyone for participating in our local government. Kudos to all of you. Oh, thank you.